Shalom, shalom. First, we give all praise and glory to the Heavenly Father, which is Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahuwah Shai. Yahuwah being the Heavenly Father, Yahuwah Shai being the Son, who people unknowingly call him Jesus Christ. Lord willing, you enduring, you praying, you fasting, you giving alms, you doing everything you need to do to make your calling and election sure in these last days. I want to give peace and blessings to whomsoever is watching this. I also want to give peace and blessings to whomsoever is not watching this, yet they believe in the Most High God Yahuwah, they believe in his son Yahuwah Shai, and they're keeping the commandments in truth and sincerity. Now the title of this video is The Second Coming of the Lord, man. Because yeah, we go into the milk, Deuteronomy 28. Everybody knows about, Song of Solomon 105. We go into all these different things, but we also need to know about prophecy, man. Because that's the spirit of the Lord, referring to Revelation 19 verse 10. All right, let's get that real quick. This book of Revelation, chapter 19 and verse 10, and it reads, "And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahuwah. Worship God. For the testimony of Yahuwah is the spirit of prophecy." So if you have the testimony of Yahuwah, you know who he is. You know that he's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He came and died for your sins. You know through him, he's the door. You have to get through the door to get to the Most High God. You know all these things, man. The testimony of Yahuwah is the spirit of prophecy. When you go on the highways and byways, you prophesying, man. When you might be prophesying in your sleep. You might be going over prophecy by yourself, breaking bread with brothers and things in that nature, man. But that's what we have to go into in these last days. You want to have a just balance. Everything, that's Proverbs 11 verse 1, a just balance. A baby can't always drink milk. The baby going to grow up eventually, man. You're not going to be a baby forever. You've been a baby for 5 years, man. That makes no sense. Eventually you grow. Now the baby getting cookies, milk and cookies. Now the baby eating a thing. Well, I don't want to say baby, my bad. The kid eating a steak, man. Eating chicken fingers, man. Right? So eventually you grow and grow and grow. Now we go into prophecy. We go into the milk, the bread, and the meat and things of that nature, man. So let's kick it off with Revelation chapter 19 and verse 11. And it reads, "And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war." Now when you see the heaven open and behold a white horse, that's not an actual white horse. That white horse is talking about a chariot. Let's go to Psalm real quick. Right? Let's go to Psalm 51 and verse 7. Verse 7, because white represents purity, righteousness, and things of that nature. So that's not an actual white horse, whom if you look on Google, they say it's an actual white horse. With its bridles and things of that nature. No, with hooves. All right, let's get Psalm 51 and verse 7. And it reads, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow." So when you're white, so-called white, it represents purity, cleanliness, righteousness. It even tells you the saints going to be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. So that white it's all spiritual and symbolic. So that white represents purity and righteousness, because Yahuwah is righteous. That horse is talking about a chariot, a so-called UFO. When he comes back, he's not going to come back on an actual horse. How do you think the Lord will come back? He's not going to come back out the sky with nothing. He's coming back in vehicles, man. You can read about that in Ezekiel chapter 1, how these angels have vehicles and doing things in that nature. Let's go to 2 Next 13. Let's get in description on how it looks like. In the Apocrypha, this book of 2 Esdras, chapter 13, and verse 1, and it reads, "And it came to pass, after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that had moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him." That man is going into Yahuwah. When he comes back, he's going to be waxing strong and strong with the thousand of angels, which are going to come with him to destroy America. So when he's making his second coming, he's going to come back in a big chariot, a so-called UFO, with thousands of angels. We're going to prove that. Right, verse 3. Verse 4. And it reads, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feels the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. I don't want to jump the gun, but you're gonna have this thing called the Battle of Armageddon. When the Lord comes back, you're gonna have these men, these different nations, in the midst of World War III, fighting each other. And when he make his second coming, they're gonna start fighting against the Lord, man. That's why you have World War III sparking up right now. The Lord stirring up the spirit of the Medes, like it says in Jeremiah 51 and verse 11, if I'm not mistaken, to go against America, right? That's why they get so antsy to use ICBM missiles and nukes, because the Lord's putting a spirit on the earth, a prophecy in World War III. And in the midst of World War III, that's when the Lord's going to come back and make his second coming. So that's what's going on right there. These men that's looking at Yahuwah and are afraid, but there's fight and going to fight against him, are these nations that's going to be in the Middle East fighting each other, man. Right? But that's the point though. Verse 6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. And that's how you know this mountain is in an actual mountain. It's not Mount Everest. It's not Mount Sinai. It's not Mount Zion, man. This mountain is a symbolic for what's called a chariot. People who call it a UFO. It's not a UFO. If anything, an IFO, identified flying object. That's Esau's terminology of saying UFO. But so-called UFOs are in the Bible. And that's the vehicles the angels and Yahuwah uses, of course, to get around, man. Right? So he's going to come back in a big so-called fathership. That's why when you watch these movies, you have Independence Day and these other movies that go into alien invasions. Esau wants you to think Green Man is in that vehicle, man, when it's not. It's a so-called black man with beard on his face and a woolly hair and that thing controlling it through the spirit, man. Because those vehicles are the angels, man. It's the Yahuwah that's going to come in a big one. Like if you look at Independence, a clip, I wish I can use StreamYard. I wish I had a computer. All hell would break loose if I hop on StreamYard. That's why I do my videos like this. But, I'll show a clip. If you go on Independence Day, watch a clip of the alien invasion, so-called, it came a big so-called UFO, right? That's how it's going to be in the second coming. Yahuwah's going to come back in a big UFO. That's that horse when you read Revelation 19. A horse is made to go to war. The same thing with the chariot. It's made to go to war, right? But I'm going to read it again. 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, and I'll read verse 6 again in the Apocrypha. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. You see that? Because Esdras, he's looking, where did he get this big behind mountain from, man? This big chariot. He's looking for a place out the earth where he just grabbed it and graved it out the earth, but he can't find it because the Lord didn't grave it out the earth. He didn't just pick up a mountain and started flying upon it. All Esdras is saying is that chariot he's coming in, that so-called UFO he's coming in, is so big, it look like Mount Everest or something, or bigger. That's how big the so-called chariot he's going to be riding, man. And that horse again, in the Revelation 19 that we just read, is talking about a UFO, so-called UFO, right? Let's get another precept. Let's get Isaiah 66. You have to understand, you have different terminology in the Bible than what you have now. These men like John, Isaiah, Ezra, they're trying to explain it the best they can in the time that they were in. Right now, if you saw the UFO, you would say it's a UFO. Even though that's not the right terminology for it, yet that's your terminology, that's what you know, right? That's like Abraham, he's trying to explain the Xbox or PS5, man. He wouldn't say there's a box in somebody's hand with that with light. I don't know. He's trying to explain a TV, man. It's a box with light, right? You don't know what's going on, but that's their term. They don't have that right terminology. They use a different language. They never seen it before. That's what John is trying to explain something in the future. Same thing now. If you had a prophecy, I don't know, in the future, you might explain it the way you know how to explain it, but in the kingdom of heaven, it's going to have a different name for it, if that makes sense. Like right now, the ICBM missiles, we know it's ICBM missiles, but John said horsemen, you know what I'm saying? With tails, and things of that nature. He called the helicopter a scorpion, the effect of a scorpion with a woman's hair, So that's what John's doing. He's trying to explain things that's futuristic ahead of his time. But let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 66. Right? And it reads, and these prophets, they have the same dream, but different ways of telling it, different perspectives. This is Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15, and it reads, "For before the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind." Now we just read about in Revelation 19 that it's called horsemen. Now it's called chariots, a whirlwind, and things of that nature. Because again, you have different hip talk, you have different terminology. Like when you even when you watch what's called Paid in Full, he's like, hey, that's my spaceship, or that's a spaceship or something like that. That's Jake with the lingo and hip talk. Same thing in the Bible, they use lingo, hip talk, different ways of explaining things. It says, I'm gonna read it again, Isaiah 66 and verse 15. "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebukes with flames of fire." So when the Lord comes back, he's coming back to do destruction. One, to save his people. Two, to destroy the wicked. Straight like that. So when he's coming in so-called UFOs. He's going to come in a big so-called UFO with thousands and thousands of angels, man. Right? I don't want to sound redundant, but it is what it is. Right, now let's go back to Revelation 19. This book of Revelation, chapter 19, and verse 12. And it reads, "His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself." When he come back, you can when it says his aims as a flame of fire, is not actual fire. You can like, let's say for instance, you playing basketball. I think they said about a celebrity in basketball. It might be Kobe, I don't know, but you can see the fire in his eyes, the passion, the anger, stuff like that. That's how Yahuwah is, man. He had red eyes. You can see the fire and the boldness in his eyes, man. That's how it's going to be when the Lord's return. He's not going to be happy, and things of that nature. You're going to see his face and see how he really coming, right? I'm going to read verse 12 again. It says, "His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns." Because let's get Revelation 6 and verse 2. When he comes back, he's taking down these different kingdoms. He's taking down Egypt. He's taking down parts of Europe. He's taking down America, of course. Babylon's out the way. America's going to be out the way. He's taking down different kingdoms, conquering and to conquer, man. The Lord's not going to just be in one place, and that's it. He's going all around the world, destroying these kingdoms to give out judgment. All right, let's get Revelation chapter 6 and verse 2. And it reads, "And I saw and behold a white horse." So you hear about that white horse again. It's not an actual white horse. Not an actual horse when you go to the barn. This white horse is a chariot. White means purity. A horse is a symbolic for a chariot, a so-called UFO. Right? And a horse, it means power, man. Let me get this precept real quick. Let's go to Psalm 33. All right, the Lord just made it click in my heart through the Spirit. A horse, it means power, man. When you talk about a horse, that's why you got that terminology, horsepower. Because a horse, when you look at his thighs and his leg, it has a lot of power behind it. So the Lord's coming with power and with might. Let's get Psalms 33 real quick. And verse 17. This book of Psalms, chapter 33 and verse 17, and it reads, "And horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength." So a horse is known to have great strength. That's what you have back then. You have war chariots, man. I was watching this clip yesterday on YouTube, man. These chariots, they would charge the people, and whoever's in the way, they're getting trampled underfoot, man. Right? They don't care. They have a lot of power and might. They're not scared of the horn when it goes to battle. They run towards battle. They don't run away, but they run towards the battle. That's how it's going to be when Yahuwah come back. He's going to run towards the battle, and whoever wants smoke, they're going to get it. All right? But that's Revelation 6 and verse 2. "And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." So the Lord, he's going to make that second coming. He's going to go forth conquering and to conquer. That's why he has many crowns. When you receive a crown, when you read about David in 2 Samuel, he got that, I believe it's that Ammonite crown, right? If I'm not mistaken, Ammonite crown. He had to conquer that, man. He had to kill the king for that crown. So that's how it's going to be when Yahuwah returns. In order to get someone's crown, you have to dominate them and rule over them and kill the king for that crown. That's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be with Yahuwah. That's how he has the crown, because he's going to come back He's going to be ruling the earth. He's going to destroy this place. And he's going to be the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's why he has many crowns. Because he went forth conquering and to conquer. You can say bye-bye to Egypt. You can go ahead and kiss America goodbye. Right? Go ahead and kiss France goodbye, man. These different parts of Europe, Asia, you know, and things of that nature, go ahead and kiss it goodbye. Because the Lord's going to come back and destroy these places, man. For the atrocities, wickedness, and murder they have done to the children of Israel and to the whole earth. That's what Untitled Chapter 11 and Chapter 12, they use much oppression, man. And the Lord, when you go into Untitled 11, it goes about, in Untitled 12, it goes into the second coming of the Lord as well. All right? I'm going to read Revelation 19 and verse 12, and it reads, his eyes were as a flame of fire, Salakia, God. And on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. Now, a lot of people use that saying, we don't know the Lord's name now. We don't know his name. I don't know why you call him Yahuwah. I don't know why you call him specific names. But that's not the case. This context, when he coming in a name that no one knows, I mean, he's coming. You don't know if he's going to get saved, man. When you just see a big chariot, you hear angels yelling, you hear the sound of the trumpet, you see the resurrection, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if you're going to be saved or not, man. Like, for instance, you may be, let's say, out on a walk, right? Then you just see somebody, let's say you're out teaching at camp, right? Then you just see someone come up, and he just standing there with his hands like this, just looking at you. You're like, what is he doing? What is he about to do? You don't know if he's about to come and, greet y'all, bless y'all, or if he's about to do something wicked, man. If someone told you that he's coming in the name of Satan, look, he's coming in the name of wickedness. If someone told you that he's coming in the name of the Most High God, you know that he's coming, you never know. But in this context, you don't know what name he's coming in. You don't know what he's about to do on the earth, right? That's all it means. Because Acts 4 and 12, let's get that real quick. Just to cut up that lie that's going around seducing people to forget about the name of the Lord and to cause them to go contrary to the truth. This book of Acts, chapter 4 and verse 12, and it reads, neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. So that name, Yahuwah, is the only name under heaven that we may be saved, man. Not Yeshua, not Jesus Christ, not Yahweh, man. Not Yahusha or whatever, man. It's not none of those things. It's Yahuwah. Because even David in Psalm 22, let's get that real quick. I believe verse 22, he said he preached the name of the Lord in a great congregation. Paraphrasing, man. All right. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 22, and verse 22, and it reads, I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee. So I would declare thy name, because David knew about the name of the Lord. Abraham knew about the name of the Lord, man. Our people knew about the name of the Lord. Peter and them, man. So that's Revelation 19 is not going into what people really think it means, man. That's why they do err, not knowing the truth. Right? But Revelation chapter 19. I'm gonna read verse 12 again. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. Verse 13. And verse 13. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. Right. So when the Lord comes back, his whole garment gonna be dipped in blood, because all the war he's gonna do, all the killings he's gonna be doing, man, his blood gonna be dipped in the. Let me get this real quick. Cause you gotta understand. Let's get Exodus. Let's get the classic in Exodus, chapter 15 and verse 3. The Lord is a man of war, and what do men of war do? They go out to battle. They kill the enemy. They take people's heads off, man. When you read about David and his men, one of his men said to David, "Let me go over there and take off his head, man. Take his head off his shoulders." That's what he said. And that was righteous. Well, yeah, that was right. He wasn't going off, man. How much more the Lord if he's a man of war? All right. Let's get Exodus 15. In verse 3, and it reads, "The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name," man. So when you type in Jesus Christ on Google Chrome, it's going to pop up a white man with long curly hair down to the back, right? With angels running about him probably, just feminine, man. Effeminate, right? Just acting like just look like a gay person, a homosexual. The Lord doesn't look like that, man. He looks very mighty, strong, so-called black man with a serious face, an austere look. And he's a man of war. He puts people to death daily, man. He's the king of terrors. So the Lord's a man of war. Don't think that he's this man portrayed on the movie on Netflix, man, about Jesus Christ. The Passion of Christ. He's not like that. He's a man of war. Why do you think people want to put him to death? He speak boldly, man. So people got to understand that the Lord, he's not no soft guy. When he comes back, he's doing a lot of killing to the point where his garment going to look like it's been in the wine press. I'm going to get this real quick, man. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 63 and verse 1. And it reads, who is this that cometh from Edom? So, hey, again, like I said, John and Isaiah, they're seeing similar things from a different perspective and explaining it on a different way, in a different way. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? So Isaiah seen a vision, a dream. He said, who is this coming from America? Right? Who is this coming right now? What's going on? Right? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thy apparel, in thy garments like him that treadeth in a wine fat, man. You see that? So Isaiah's asking a question. Why is your garment, it's like, why are your, wherefore art thou red in thy apparel? And why is your apparel red? Then you have a white garment? Or why is your apparel red? What's going on? And thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. And then this is the Lord answering, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in mine anger, and tremble them in my fury. And their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I shall stain, and I will stain all my raiment. You see that? So the Lord said he's going to stain all his raiment with people's blood, man. If he said that right now, he would be arrested. He would be put in the lowest part of the prison. He might get the death penalty, man. Right? But guess what? That's how the Lord's going to be coming. They don't teach you this in church. Your pastor says he's going to come back with a rainbow over his head and save everybody. But he just said, hey, he's going to be doing a lot of killing. And people's blood going to be sprinkled upon his garment. You know? So let's go back to Revelation 19. All right. Let's pick up Revelation chapter 19. And verse 14. And it reads, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Now, who are these armies which were in heaven? These armies would be the angels, man. Satan trying to handle the word. But these armies would be the angels that's coming back to do destruction. You're gonna have Michael the Archangel, right? Let's get into the precepts. All right. Because any king, man, he has generals, man. He has captains, officers. Same thing with the Most High God and his son Yahuwah. Yahuwah's going to come back as the king. Michael the Archangel going to be that general, man. One thing you can kind of look at it on a parabolic type way, or however you want to say it, parallel. That's a better word, parallel. Look at the time of David. He had Joab, Asahel, Abishai. That's kind of how it's going to be with Yahuwah, but in righteousness, man. Not like how Joab went off, but Joab, he was a good general leading the people, man. He was hitting people up, touching people, man, killing people. He was very wise. That's how it's going to be with Yahuwah when he comes back. You're going to have Yahuwah, Michael the Archangel, man. You're going to have Gabriel. You're going to have all, because Rapha Allah, guess what? He's a priest that take up the prayers on the spiritual world, man. I don't want to get too deep into it, but you have different offices. You have the war people, you have the priests, you have different men on the earth and in the spiritual world, different offices, man. Michael is going to be over the war. Yahuwah is going to be over him, but Michael, he's going to be that general controlling the war, man. Let's get this real quick. This is Revelation chapter 5 and verse 11. And it reads, and I beheld and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the beast and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands, man. That's a lot of angels, man. That's a lot. You can't even count them. right? To the point that John had to say thousands of thousands, man, after 10,000, man. So there was so many angels in the spiritual world that you can't count them. Those were the angels that's going to come back with the Lord and destroy this place, right? An army is set up to go to war. That's what these angels are made for, to go to war, to be valiant, man. All right, let's get this real quick. Let's go to Revelation 12. Let's look at Revelation. Yeah, let me go to my other Bible for this one, man. Let's go to Revelation chapter 12. Bear with me. Let's look at Revelation chapter 12. In verse 7. And it reads, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels," man. And who are the angels of Satan? These other nations. That's why you have the Battle of Armageddon, like I was telling you about in 2 Ezra 13. These other nations are going to team up together and fight against the Lord when he comes back. That's why, again, it says, and there was war in heaven. You're going to have helicopters trying to shoot the chariots down. These jets going to try to shoot the chariots down. You're going to have missiles and these high-tech artillery missiles or machine guns aimed at the Lord and his angels trying to shoot them down. But it's not going to prosper. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, man. Like a 2 Ezra 13 goes into, man. All right? So we can go back. All right? We can go back to Revelation 19. Revelation chapter 19, I'm going to read verse 15. All right, Salakia. I'm going to read verse 15, and it reads, "And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God." And then Isaiah just said the same thing about the winepress, the wine fat, that he treadeth this in his anger, because they're seeing the same thing but telling it differently, man. Right? You might have the same dream and you didn't even know it, man. Oh wow, I saw the Lord coming back. His garment was red. I don't know. You might be somebody back on the earth, man, having that same dream. Hey, Ezra, he had the same dream, but he told it in a different way, man. So these prophets, they saying the same thing, but in a different way. And that's how it's going to be in the day. That's how the Lord, I was talking to a brother, the Lord keeps the commandments. 2 or 3 witnesses, man. And the Lord has more witnesses on that. With the Beckett, even David goes into it, man. And the Lord's going to come back, and these people going to fight against him, man. Right? So, yeah, that's how it's going to be when the Lord comes back. And it's going to be loud, too. One, if anything, the main thing I have to meditate about is the second coming of the Lord. Because a lot of things is going to be happening during the second coming of the Lord. You're going to have trumpets blowing. You're going to have Yahuwah yelling. You're going to hear voices. You're going to have the alarm going off in Babylon. That, you're going to have all these things. The resurrection of it didn't say that. The trumpets. You're going to have all these different things. You have people yelling. People, all hell going to be breaking loose, man. It's like, it's crazy, right? But let's get this real quick. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians. All right? So when Yahuwah returns, it's going to be loud. It's not going to be a secret. Right now, you probably don't know about men who just got put to death. You don't know about that. But when the Lord comes back, everyone's going to know he's here. What you mean? He's here, man. You don't have to say the name. Hey, he's here, because you're going to understand that he's back, man. Right? Let's get this real quick. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 13. And it reads, But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. So what does Paul mean when it says that, what's called, that sleep? I'm going to read it again. It says, concerning them which are asleep. What does Paul mean about that? The people who fell asleep are the people who so-called died in the truth, right? You got people who died a death, get cut down in their wickedness, and they will never come into this truth. But when you fall asleep, eventually you wake back up, right? Let's get this real quick. Let me get an example real quick. Let's go to about Stephen. Right, Stephen, he fell asleep in the faith, right? That means he's back on the earth and he woke back up to the truth. Let's get this real quick. Let's go to Acts chapter 7, verse 58. This book of Acts, chapter 7 and verse 58. And it reads, and cast him out of the city and stoned him. So Stephen got stoned. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at a young man's feet, whose name was Saul. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon God, saying, Lord Yahuwah, receive my spirit. And he knelt down and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. He didn't take a nap. He didn't set a 30-minute timer to wake him up. When it says he fell asleep after getting stoned, meaning he died, but the reason why it says fell asleep, because he believed in the Lord, so when he comes back on the earth, on one fold, he's going to wake back up to the truth. On another fold, he's going to be resurrected back to life. If that makes sense. Lord willing, that does make sense. All right, to the whoever's watching this. So let's go back to 1 Thessalonians. All right. Let's say there's a precept that says many have fallen asleep. You know, I think Paul said that many have fallen asleep and things of that nature, meaning they died in the truth. You have people who die in the truth right now. They fell asleep, but they're going to be resurrected back to life. They're going to wake back up through the Spirit. All right, so let's go back to 1 Thessalonians 4. All right, so here. This book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 4 and verse 14. For if we believe that Yahuwah died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahuwah will God bring with him. Paul's trying to uplift the faith and put them on game about the resurrection, saying, don't be afraid about dying in the Lord, because the Lord's going to save you and resurrect you back. That resurrection is going to happen when the Lord comes back, man. All right? It says, I'm going to get that real quick. Let's go to John, actually. That's the Spirit compelling me right there. Let's go to John chapter 5. Because even the Lord talk about that. You got two different type of resurrections. The spiritual resurrection, when you wake up to the truth, right? And you're not dead anymore. And the physical resurrection, when people comes out from the dust of the ground. Let's go to John chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 25. And it reads, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they that hear shall live. Because we're out there teaching the truth, man. We're teaching the truth. You got people waking up to knowing who they are. They used to smoke weed. They used to commit murder. They have felonies. They did wickedness in the world, man. Harlots, right? But now they heard the word of the Lord, and now they have life, resurrected spiritually from the dead, right? Verse 26, For as the Father hath life in himself, so hath he given to the Son to have life in himself, and hath given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the Son of Man. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice. Now, first Yahuwah spoke about the spiritual resurrection. Now he's speaking about the physical resurrection. It says, marvel not at this, for the hour is coming. I mean, it's about to come in the second coming. In the which all that are in the graves, the people who so-called dead, shall hear his voice. Because you're going to hear his voice, because he's going to be screaming and yelling. Right? Like an archangel, like Paul, we're about to get into it, Paul. It says, and shall come forth they that are and shall come forth they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation, man. So everyone would be resurrected, but some would be resurrected unto life. They get beamed up in a chariot and get saved and delivered from the destruction. You're going to have some people who get resurrected and get put back to death and get destroyed, man. Right? Let's go to let's get another precept. Let's go to Daniel 12 and verse 2. I believe, or verse 4, either one. I think. Let's see. Daniel chapter 12 and verse I'm gonna start at verse 1. Daniel 12 and verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. That's Jeremiah 30 and verse 6 to verse 7 on down, man. Talking about Jacob's trouble. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. So if you want to be saved, man, Lord willing, whoever's watching this, myself, 12 tribes scattered abroad, our names are written in the book of life to be delivered and saved. All right? Verse 2, and many of them that sleep, that same sleep in 1 Thessalonians 4 and 13, It says, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So Daniel, he's getting put on game by the same thing. Like it says in John 5, man. Right? You're going to have some people who's going to get resurrected, but they're going to get life. They're going to get saved, man. Resurrected into a chariot. Right? All praise to the Most High. Then you're going to have some people who's resurrected just to get destroyed again, man. Those are the two lots. Resurrection to be saved, resurrection to get destroyed. So while all hell is breaking loose, World War III, in the midst of World War III, you have Yahuwah coming back, you have the resurrection happening, you have all these different things happening, man. You best believe those, like it says in Zephaniah, the alarm to defend cities, man. They're going to be going off too. You're going to be loud, you're going to have people screaming. Right? All hell's going to be breaking loose during the second coming. Let's go back to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, right, in verse 15, and it reads, for this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. Right, because you're going to have, for lack of better terms, you're going to have a first load and a second load. The first load, it might be in high school, probably with the first load or second load. The first load, the people who are going to get saved first are the people who died in the Lord, man. They got first class seats. Those are going to be the people who get beamed up first. So you might be running for your life. You might be getting scared because you've seen everybody get beamed up, but not yourself. But you can't faint. You have to have hope that you're still going to get saved. Because remember, the Lord's going to save the people who died in the Lord first. And then he's going to save the people which are alive. That's what Paul is talking about. It reads, for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel. What's that shout? Is it that song, scream and shout and let it all out? That shout is going to be like a lion, man. When the Lord's coming back, he's going to be yelling. He's going to be yelling judgment. He's going to be yelling as a roaring lion. All right, let's get this. You can read about that. Like I said, I'm going to get that real quick, actually, man. All right. Let's go to Isaiah 42. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, and verse 13. And it reads, the Lord shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yell, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies, man. That's that shout of an archangel that is talking about when the Lord roars like a lion and come back and devour his prey. Verse 14, I have long time holding my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now when I cry like a travailing woman, I will destroy and devour at once. Because the Lord been holding his peace for too long now, man. So when he actually start yelling and he start doing action, man, he's going to take it to the fullest extent. He's going to apply intense pressure to people, man. For instance, you might be at a workplace. You might have someone trying to get you mad, man. But you cooling, right? You holding it all in. You chilling. You're not even getting touched by it for real. But every day he's doing it, man. Then guess what? That last day, that last straw, he do something. It could be small. He do something. He probably pushed you on purpose. All hell is breaking loose. You might grab him by the neck. We start choking him. You yelling out words saying, I told you stop messing with me. All this other stuff, man. You yelling. That's how it's going to be with the Lord, but 10 times more. Right? He going to be yelling, man. Because he been holding his peace for too long. Right? Yeah, let's go to 2nd Esdras real quick. This book of 2nd Esdras. Let me see if I can find this through the Spirit. Icon. 2nd Esdras chapter 12 and verse 31. And the lion, because Yahuwah is known as a lion, right, from the tribe of Judah. It says, and the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou hast heard. This is the anointed which the highest hath kept for them and for their wickedness unto the end. He shall reprove them and shall upbraid them with their cruelty. For he shall set them before him alive in judgment, and he shall rebuke them and correct them. You see that? That's talking about the Lord, man. He's going to come back. He's going to put that eagle, which is the so-called white man, in a fire and destroy them. So again, he's going to come back yelling, roaring. All right, so let's go back to 1 Thessalonians 4. this book of First Thessalonians, chapter 4, and 4 and verse 16 again. It reads, "For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the Archangel Man, and with the trump of God." So imagine this, man. You just in Jacob's trouble, right? You might be in a wilderness, or you might be in a FEMA camp, wherever your lot is. But for this sake, let's say you're in the wilderness for this lot. Let's say you all of a sudden you hear these what's called the air raid siren going on, because these ICBM missiles about to come to America. Next thing you know, you hear that sky crack open. You start hearing yelling. You start hearing all these different things. You hear trumpets. You hear all these different things going on. Then you see Yahuwah coming with a chariot, man. All these things, you start feeling the ground move. You start seeing people come out from the ground, man. And just imagine these things. Have a you gotta visualize these things, and and see what's really going on. Get in touch with that, right? That's a very scary thing. You may not think it's very scary now, but in that day, man, when it's actually happening, guess what? Hey, yeah, it's gonna be scary in that day. But I want to read this again, though. It says, "For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God." So that trumpet is going to sound, the last trump. That trumpet is going to be a loud trumpet sound, man. So let me see if I had anything for that. Icon. That trumpet is going to be a loud trumpet sound, right? Salakia. Salakia. Yeah, my bad. That's my fault. There's gonna be a loud trump sound, man. You're gonna hear the trumpets, the resurrection, the air raid sirens, Yahuwah yelling, all these different things you're gonna hear. Like, you gotta actually visualize these things and understand what's going on. It says, "And the dead in Christ shall rise first." Like I was telling you before, really what the Lord was telling you before, about how the dead, they're gonna rise first. That's that first load. And then you're gonna have the second load, right? Which is this, verse 17. "Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord." You see that? So after the Lord raised up the people who died in the Lord first, and then the people which are alive, they're going to be beamed up too, man. So like I said, when you see people getting beamed up and not yourself, don't be faint-hearted, but yet just wait. The Lord's going to come, he's going to get you too, man. Right? So let's go to let's go to Isaiah 26 and verse 19. We're going to get a few more, then we're going to end it. Or take a pause, I'll say that. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 19. And it reads, "Thy dead men shall live together with my dead body, shall they arise." Now, when you go into this, go into the resurrection, it says, "Awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead." So this is going to the resurrection. The earth's going to cast out the dead, and your body will be resurrected from the dust of the ground. Your body will materialize back to because we're made from the dust. And to the dust we go back down. And to the dust will be made again in the resurrection. Right? Verse 20. "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee." Those chambers are the chariots, man. That's where the Lord's going to protect you when he's destroying this place. Right? It says, "And shut thy doors about thee, hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed." Because when the Lord's destroying this place, you're not going to be on the earth. If you on the earth, hey man, you're going to get burnt up. The Lord going to put you in a chariot so you can be saved from that destruction, from that judgment, man. Verse 21. "For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain." That's put upon tables, man. His place is the habitation in the heavens, man. He's going to come from the third heavens to the earth to destroy this place. All right, let's go to Song of Solomon, chapter 2. So these are different precepts about the resurrection, the second coming, but more in a poetic type of form. You have some that's straight to the point, easy to process. You have some that's told in what's called a poetic way. This is the book of Song of Solomon, chapter 2, and verse 8, and it reads, the voice of my beloved. Again, that voice. Read. It says the voice of my beloved. Because when he comes back, that beloved is Yahuwah. He's going to be screaming and roaring in that day, man. Behold, he's coming leaping upon the mountains, skipping upon the hills. What does that mean that he's going to be coming leaping upon the mountains and skipping upon the hills? I mean, he's going to come from mountain to mountain. You have places like Israel that's referred to as a mountain. America, Babylon is referred to as mountain. These different nations are referred to as mountain and hill, as mountain and hills. Let's go to Joel. Let's prove that real quick. These different nations are referred to as mountain and hills. So when it says he's skipping upon the mountains, meaning, I guess it reads in Revelation 6 and verse 2, he's going forth to conquer and to conquer. Again, remember, it's told in a poetic way. That's all. It's the same thing, but told in a different way. This book of Joel, Joel chapter 3, and verse, I'm going to start at verse 17, and it reads, so shall you know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her any more. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth out of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. So mountains and hills are referred to as nations, man, right? So when it says, again, in Song of Solomon 2 and verse 8, the voice of my beloved, Yahuwah coming back and roaring like a lion. Behold, he cometh, leaping upon the mountains and skipping upon the hills. I mean, he's coming back to take down these different nations. My beloved is like a roe or a young hart. Why is it referred to as a young hart? As a deer. Because a deer, when you see it run, it's moving fast. He's coming back as a boldly and moving fast, man. Right? Quick. He's doing it quickly in speed. Right? Salakia. It reads, behold, he standeth behind our wall. He looketh forth at the windows, showing himself through the lattice. You see that? Let's get this precept real quick. The windows is the windows of heaven. Because even Isaiah said the same thing, kind of, man. Let's get that real quick. Isaiah 25. Isaiah chapter 25 and verse 18. And it reads, and it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. So you're going to see the Lord, when that sky opened up, you're going to see the Lord on his throne, man. It's just the windows from on high. It's talking about that firmament. The thing that guards you, that really separates you from the third heaven, is that firmament and the waters above. So the Lord's going to clear all that water out. That firmament going to be opened up, and you're going to see the spiritual world, man. All right. So let's go back to Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon chapter 2 and verse 10. And it reads, my beloved spake and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. That's just John said the same thing too when you read Revelation. It's that come up hither, right? Again, this Bible, what's it called? It goes back off each other. What I mean by that is they're saying the same thing. That's why you can get precept upon precept, because they're saying the same thing but in a different way, right? It would be a boring book if it just everything's the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing literally, like word for word. But the Lord, he uses different spirits and different vessels to say the same thing, but in a different way, man. Right? Like you may be good at basketball. Someone may be good, but they play a different way. That's where you get flavor, the salt, things that you have different flavor in this thing, man. You don't just have salt. Right? Let's get let me see if I can find that in Revelation chapter 11. Let me see. Stop what I want. Verse 12, and it reads, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Now, what's that? Who's saying come up hither? The angels. That's beaming you up from the destruction. You might just be in a FEMA camp. You think you're about to die. The next thing you hear is come up hither. Now you're in a spiritual body in a chariot, man. You hear come up hither, you get beamed up, man. It says, I'm going to read it again. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, really Yahuwah, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. Now, what's that cloud? It's hip talk. That cloud is a chariot, a so-called UFO. right? So when the Lord comes back, I'm going to read Song of Solomon 2 and verse 10 again. My beloved spake and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. The same thing as come up hither. He's going to beam you up from the destruction that's about to come to pass. It reads verse 11, for lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. I mean, no more captivity, no more affliction, no more going to work. That winter, the day of coldness, the day of affliction, no, not prospering, no seeds, no fruit, that's done away with, man. The winter is gone and the rain is overpassed. I mean, now you're entering into the kingdom of heaven, man. So, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'm going to give a koholoyam, Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. That's the second coming of the Lord, of Christ. I'm going to give peace and blessing to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Psalms 115 and verse 1. Shalom.